My next guest grew up in New Brighton and graduated from Irondale High School. Now he is a nationally exhibited photographer working in fine art, nature, and documentary still photography. I'd like you to meet Andrew Amundsen. Hi, Andrew. Welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Irondale High School, you got a start there in photography, working on the yearbook. Is that where you got your love for photography?
Definitely in high school is when I discovered that that was probably what I wanted to do, as early as 16 or so. I had a very good teacher in Mrs. Jean Coletti, and very inspiring, and got to do a lot of work with her, learning the basics of black and white photography. That's where we started back in the 80s there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, you work in digital photography, but also some film.
Yes.
And you don't hear a lot about film anymore. But
For film uses, I am using more specific older cameras, and I'll do things like pinhole photography, where the camera is just simply a box with nothing but a pinhole to use as the lens. And for that type of photography, usually you need a film based, and it's a larger format, 4x5 style film that we use.
now, how do you decide what are the values of like a digital or film? Is it a different effect you're trying to get?
Well, yeah, for me it would be the use of the older lenses, maybe the equipment, the feel of the equipment. But some of the older lenses would give you a different rendering of the image. You can use the older lenses today on digital cameras, but using the film is just has a different look.
A different look
Yeah.
that you're artistically trying to
Yes,
accomplish.
yeah.
Okay. Now, I know you've got a photograph in a show right now that's going on in Blaine, and that's called Arts in Harmony. And let's take a look at that picture.
Yes,
the
this is from
photograph.
Joshua Tree National Park. We actually took a spring break vacation. I promised my family we'd go somewhere warm, so we went to California.
Sure.
And the day we took a trip down to Joshua Tree National Park, it was 45 degrees, and we got snowbursts. And I was in heaven. I loved the fact
Sure.
that I was getting this kind of a nature effect, and the snow just gave me this surreal scene out in the desert. And it's not something usually you expect when you think of a desert.
No, you don't.
And it is common, and it was March, so this is something that can commonly happen in the desert. It gets very cool.
And I think is that high desert there?
Yeah, they'll call that a high desert.
Yeah, okay. So if anyone wants to see that, they could go out to the show in Blaine.
Yeah, at the Blaine City Hall through March 30th. The Arts in Harmony show is on display right now.
And that is the juried art show, which means?
They choose a juror or multiple jurors. I believe there's just one for this show. And they do the judging.
Before you can even get in.
Well,
Yes.
I think it may actually be the Arts Alliance, the Elk River Arts Alliance themselves that may do that judging.
Oh, okay.
I'm not real clear on that one. You submit your works through a website called callforentry.org, and it's a good resource for photographers and artists to find shows and internships, different festivals to enter your work into. And that's how I entered into that particular show.
Okay. And I understand there were 750 entrants, but only 207 made that cut to the end.
So
Okay.
it was a compliment to be accepted. Yes.
Definitely. Definitely. Your photography, sometimes you're looking for a certain emotional impact, and I know you've done a series called Lofts. What's the background of Lofts?
Yeah, my loft views are, it's a series of photographs that I started making about a year ago. A little over a year ago, the woman that I loved and was in a 12-year relationship with died of breast cancer, which spread to her brain and spinal cord. The last 7 months of her life, she was paralyzed in a wheelchair. After her passing, I made a move to a third-floor attic apartment loft, and I began making the images that you see through the skylight and different windows of the loft. Really as an exercise to keep my eye fresh and to, as a challenge to create a variety of compositions, from just such narrow views, and see what kind of a variety I could come up with. And it really morphed into a really neat series, I thought, and I've gotten a lot of good response from it. And I'm seeking out, trying to put together a solo show of this grouping of images.
It's really interesting, the different things you see from up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is capturing the mood of the day's light, the weather. I call them like window-framed landscapes. And you can see a lot of the effects are the weather on the window and just the light of the day, and it's amazing the variety you can get just from a couple small views if you challenge yourself each day to do something new and see something new.
Well, they're all certainly creatively done, and
Thank you very much.
yes, I don't think I would have come up with that many ideas on what to do. So what about us common photographers? How can we get beyond just taking a picture and they all look the same? And what do you have to do
Well, I think
to go beyond?
I think my advice is study as many photographers as you can. Look at lots of images. You study, practice. Do a lot of practice. And then the most important thing to do is to find yourself something that you're passionate about, and make that your subject. Once you've learned composition and how to look at light, and you'll have all that down, and then you look for something that's important for you to become your subject, and then you will really see your work take off somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's happened with some of my loft views, just as an example, that I started seeing how the effects and the way I was looking at the light
And so you do have to learn a little bit about the lighting and...
Sure. And today with digital photography, it's the photographers have it a little easier with coming up and learning from their mistakes, looking at everything on the computer and everything.
Mm-hmm. And you take a picture and you can look at it right away and decide,
even right on the camera.
Right on the camera,
sure.
Yeah. We used to have to wait till we
Interestingly
had
enough,
it developed.
Interestingly enough, the series of my loft views were all created with my iPhone. So,
no.
Yeah, they're all iPhone photographs. Everything, they were photographed with the iPhone and they're edited on the iPhone.
I'm amazed.
I like to amaze people with that.
I
And
am
say,
amazed.
this is what you can do even with this simple piece of equipment.
Yes, but that says you've got a lot more of an artistic eye than like I do, because I'm
Well,
sure
it's,
mine wouldn't look like that.
More than
so.
25 years of doing
Yes,
photography and
definitely.
studying and really learning composition and training
Yeah.
my eye and,
Yeah.
and doing these exercises. I mean, this started out as just an exercise, not a specific project, just to keep fresh and keep my eye seeing things.
Mm-hmm. And you go in other shows around the country too,
have.
is that right?
A lot of my national parks photographs have been accepted this year, because this year was the centennial of the National Park Service. So I entered quite a few of those different ones. And in Massachusetts, coming up in a week, I have a specific iPhone photography show that I have images in. So I'll be traveling out to Massachusetts to participate in that.
And the whole show is
It's all iPhone
iPhone.
photographs, yeah, in the square format.
amazing.
So I had a lot of material for that.
Yes, definitely. So where are you hoping to go with your photography? What's next?
This is the first year that I've really started pursuing the fine art angle. I went to a commercial photography school and have dabbled in that over the years. but I want to pursue more fine art work. I'd like to start getting some solo shows and expand my projects. I want to do something a little more around Minnesota. And, I've been focusing on some of these national shows, but I need to talk to more local galleries and find some more venues around here.
Okay, so
That's my big goal.
okay, so we'll have to look for you or see if some of these shows, if you're not in them.
And
then.
my website, I always advertise upcoming shows and previous shows, and I have a photo gallery of a lot of the previous shows.
Okay. Andrew, thank you for the advice, and I hope
welcome.
people get a chance to go out to Blaine and take a look at that show.
I hope so too. It's a very good show.
Okay, thank
Thank you very much.